Trump doubling down there on tariffs against China. And China's Ministry of Commerce says it's, quote, assessing the situation, hinting that trade talks with the United States, but warned that blackmail would not work. And back here in the United States, many industries are preparing to feel the effects of tariffs, including America's farmers.
Well, you know, I tell them to be encouraged. I mean, finally, we're putting American farmers first. If we start really enforcing the agreements that we had with China when President Trump was in office in 2017, where he said, you got to buy so much of American produce, then that would have been fine. But what happened is Biden walked away from that. Nobody held him accountable. They violated the rules and regulations. So we had inflation with low commodity prices. It crushed the farmers. We lost 150,000 farmers in the last administration. President Trump's going to take care of them. We're going to see to that.
Did America just lose its biggest customer in agriculture overnight? This isn't a drill, and it's not just another trade war headline. A seismic shift is happening right now in the global food trade, and US farmers are at the epicenter. China has suddenly stopped buying key US farm exports, devastating rural America. Worse, the US government isn't saying a word. Before we dive in, if you care about truth, transparency, and stories the mainstream won't touch, hit the like button and share this video. It helps independent channels like this one reach more people, and trust me, more people need to hear this. For decades, American farmers fed the world, and China was the biggest customer at the table. Soybeans, pork, corn, sorghum all flowed from the Midwest to Chinese ports in massive volumes. But tensions have been boiling. And in April 2025, the second Trump administration reignited tariffs on Chinese goods, citing trade imbalances and national security. China responded decisively, not just with tariffs, but by walking away from US agriculture entirely. In just days, over 95% of soybean orders were cancelled, pork shipments were halted, grain contracts vanished. It was like someone flipped a switch. The fallout hit instantly. In Iowa and Illinois, where soybeans are a lifeline, silos are now full with no buyers. Corn prices have dipped so low that harvesting may not be worth the cost. Bank loans secured on the promise of export demand are now in jeopardy. Local grain elevators are full, equipment dealers are seeing cancellations. Families are calling this worse than the 1980s farm crisis. And the worst part, there is no backup plan. Many farmers say they didn't even hear the news from the government. They found out when buyers stopped answering their calls. What do you think? Was this crisis avoidable? Should the US have seen this coming? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone, and this is the kind of issue that deserves real discussion. What's important to understand is that this isn't just revenge. China's pullback is part of a much bigger plan. Since the first trade war in 2018, China has been preparing to reduce dependence on US agricultural imports. It has built strategic partnerships with Brazil, Argentina, and Russia to secure long-term food supplies. It's also heavily investing in domestic crop production and food tech, including vertical farming and gene-edited seeds. This is not a temporary boycott. It's a permanent realignment. China's Ministry of Agriculture publicly stated that they now have reliable alternatives and no longer need to depend on volatile US supply chains. So how has the US responded? Not with urgency, not even with clarity. Aside from a few press comments defending the tariffs, the administration has not rolled out a bailout, issued emergency funding, or even addressed the loss publicly. Farmers are watching their livelihood collapse, and Washington stays silent. Some lawmakers from farm-heavy states are pushing for subsidy bills and calling for debt relief programs. But there's gridlock in Congress and no one seems to be leading the charge. The economic impact won't be limited to farmers. Agriculture is part of a vast ecosystem. When farms go down, so do freight and trucking services, equipment sales and repair shops, local banks, diners and grocery stores in rural towns. Already, trucking companies are reporting reduced demand. Retailers in farm regions are seeing sales dry up. And agtech companies are bracing for mass cancellations of pre-orders for spring and summer. Experts warn this could snowball into a broader recession, one that starts in the heartland and spreads outward. This crisis is also a political grenade, especially for the current administration. Rural voters helped secure the last two elections, but today many of them feel betrayed and abandoned. I voted for Trump because he said he'd fight for us, one Kansas farmer said in a local radio interview. Now I can't sell my crops and Washington won't even return my calls. With 2026 midterms coming, frustration could become rebellion. Some Republicans are quietly breaking ranks proposing independent relief bills, while Democrats are preparing campaign messaging around the failure to protect American agriculture. Solutions exist, they just haven't been prioritized. Emergency purchase programs could help stabilize prices. Trade missions to countries like India or Indonesia could open new markets. Debt forgiveness and fuel tax cuts could keep farmers afloat. But none of this is moving. Washington appears frozen, hoping the storm will pass. Meanwhile, Chinese state media is already calling this the moment the US agricultural empire collapsed. This is more than just trade. It's about global influence, national security, and economic survival. America's farmers are at the front lines of a new geopolitical era, one where supply chains are weapons and silence can be deadly. And right now, those farmers are being left to fend for themselves. If you found this video eye-opening or valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. Your support helps keep this channel alive and independent, and we are just getting started. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.